Morrad Ghonim was a businessman in Antigua and Barbuda who landed in Antigua in 2010. While in Antigua, he opened a beauty supply store called Ayushi, and he also invested in a number of local programs, pageants, events, sports. During his time in Antigua, he also met and married Nadera Lando, who is the former Miss Dominica, in a beautiful fairy tale wedding. It was spoken about by the whole Caribbean. Everybody was talking about it. It was the biggest thing at that time. This is Vicky Zapata. July 23rd, 1992. Vicky was 17 at the time. Her husband, who was 19, and their 6-month-old son, decided to have a quiet night at La Mirada Park in Los Angeles, California. While at the park, Vicky was being harassed and catcalled by some gang members, and her husband decided they're gonna leave because it was just uncomfortable being there. You know, you're out with your family and you're being harassed or messed with by other people. So Vicky and her husband decided they're gonna leave. They're gonna take their son and get out of the park. As they got to their car, Vicky is putting her son in the car seat in the back, and her husband is getting ready for them to drive out of the park. While Vicky is doing that, an assailant approached Vicky and shot her through the passenger side of the car. After her husband saw this, he jumped in the car as quick as he could and took off to find the nearest hospital. Because he was driving so fast, he was pulled over by the police. When the police approached him, they were shocked to see a woman, Vicky, slumped over into his lap. The police noted that he was crying frantically and uncontrollably. So the police called the paramedics to come to the scene, where they transported Vicky to the hospital. While at the hospital, Vicky was pronounced dead, and her autopsy showed that she was shot 5 times with a .22 caliber gun. Her husband, Morrad Ghonim, could not identify or say who the assailant was. He didn't know. He said he didn't see who it was or saw what happened, in order to help the police in identifying who shot his wife. From there on, the police went back to the park to investigate the matter to see if they can come up with anything that would give them any clues that made them understand what happened that caused this incident. While at the park, the police could not find any shell casings, any fragments, any bullet fragments, or any cartridges. However, they found a witness who stated they saw a very skinny Hispanic male running from the scene of where they heard the gunshots, and he was wearing a white Chicago White Sox shirt, which he took off and hid in the bushes. So the police found the bushes where the clothes were hidden and took them in for evidence. Now, at the station, there was an anonymous tip that came in that named 2 gang members that were responsible for the shooting. The police did a photo lineup of the 2 gang members, or well, including the 2 gang members. However, Morrad, Vicky's husband, and the witness from the park could not identify anybody from the lineup. And Morrad was also given a gunshot residue test, and it came back negative. So the case went cold. In 2006, remember this happened in 1992, and DNA testing was not what it is today. There was no way for them to test for DNA at that time because the technology was very, very limited. Now in 2006, the Los Angeles Sheriff Department got a grant authorizing forensic testing on evidence from cold cases. So the Sheriff's Department took the from the bush that was hidden by the assailant that the witness identified, and they got this to be tested for DNA, which 3 years later they were able to get DNA from these clothes, and it was linked to a male called Leon Martinez. While going through the evidence, the police came across an old phone tip from a lady called Barbara Woody, who named Leon Martinez as the shooter of Vicky Zapata at the time when it happened. Now, Barbara Woody is the mother of a Selena Woody. Selena Woody was the girlfriend of Leon Martinez at the time of the shooting, which Leon confessed to her that he was the one who did in fact kill Vicky. Deanna Woody, who was Selena Woody's sister, corroborated that she did in fact know Morrad because she saw Morrad speaking to Leon Martinez a few days before the murder. So the police picked up Morrad and they took him back to the crime scene so they can recount what happened. Now, at the crime scene, Morrad stated that he does not remember the specifics or even remembered how the gang member looked from the night. Vicky's autopsy states that she was shot close range or even contact, and the police state the shooter would have had to been pointing his gun down into the car for how Vicky was shot. Now, because of all this evidence, Morrad and Leon was taken into custody. Because of lack of evidence against Morrad Ghonim, he was released and Leon Martinez was charged with Vicky's murder. While in jail, Leon Martinez instructed his wife, Eva Martinez, to find his ex-girlfriend, Selena Woody, and intimidate her against testifying at the trial against him. Now, Eva Martinez pled guilty to dissuading a witness and was given 3 years probation and 180 days in jail. Now, Leon's trial was 4 years later, where he was found guilty of dissuading a witness, but the jury was hung on the murder charge. So Leon Martinez was retried the following year for the murder of Vicky Zapata, where he was ultimately found guilty and was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. Now, after his trial, he struck a post-conviction plea agreement with the prosecution, agreeing to tell him exactly what happened in the murder of Vicky. So Leon states in 1992, Morrad met with him and offered to pay him to kill his wife. Leon said the next day he went to the park and waited for Morrad and his wife to show up, where he approached their car and shot Vicky. Now, Morrad was tracked down in Antigua and Barbuda, living with his third wife, Nadira Lando. Morrad's second wife, Nesreen Alfale, stated that their marriage was a total disaster. She also let the police know that one time she threatened to divorce Morrad, and Morrad stated, "If you try to divorce me, I will do to you what I did to the other one. This time it will cost me more than $500, but it will be worth it." Those were his exact words. In 2015, the Los Angeles police and the police of Antigua and Barbuda collaborated in order to have Morrad extradited back to the U.S. and to charge him with the murder of Vicky Zapata. So Leon states in 1992, Morrad met with him and offered to pay him to kill his wife. Leon said the next day he went to the park and waited for Morrad and his wife to show up. I did not testify in his defense. Leon and Morrad's second wife, Nesreen, were the star witnesses for the prosecution, and Morrad was ultimately found guilty of Vicky's murder with special circumstances of lying in wait for financial gain. Morrad is now in prison for life without the possibility of parole.